reports.
Now, we've followed the story of the Hartley brothers from Romsey for nearly 4 years now.
Yes, Joshua, Nathan, Daniel and Luke were diagnosed in 2003 with a condition known as XLP, or Duncan's disease. The only cure is to have a bone marrow transplant.
So far, the 3 eldest have had their treatment and are doing really well. Now they just need to find a donor for their youngest son. Catherine Hull caught up with them.
The Hartley family have always remained very positive, despite the fact that all 4 of their sons were born with a rare genetic illness. But now, for the first time in years, they're so close to having a family life like you or me. No hospital visits, no operations, just enjoying normal things like holidays. Over the years, we've followed the Hartley's story, from Joshua's life-saving bone marrow transplant in 2004, followed then by Daniel's the same year. And then 2 years ago, when Nathan followed his brothers up to Great Ormond Street Hospital in London for his transplant. And earlier this year, Alison and David Hartley from Romsey thought their journey was almost complete when Luke, their youngest child, had his treatment. But sadly, it was unsuccessful, so now the search begins again to find a donor.
We've been told that there is a possibility of a donor, but we've been in this position before, and that possibility's gone away. So really, we're waiting for that magical phone call to say that there's a good enough donor to go and that we can go back into hospital and Luke can have his transplant.
What would it mean for you as a family to have all 4 boys well?
It's fantastic just to have 3 of the boys through transplant at the moment, and hopefully we just pray that Luke will come through the next transplant.
How important is this clinic, not just for you but for other families in very similar positions?
You could be that lifesaver. You could be that one person that just is a match. There are 7,000 people around the world in Luke's situation. They're kind of stuck in no man's land, waiting for somebody to come along and give them the gift of life.
Let's come set the table.
So now begins the wait for that magic phone call. Somewhere out there is the perfect donor for Luke and for the thousands of other people just like him. It could be you. Catherine Hull in Romsey for Meridan Tonight.
Well, thankfully that wonderful family is so close now to having all 4 boys completely on the road to recovery, but the need for bone marrow donors is frankly huge.
Well, our reporter Kerry Swain is live now at a donor recruitment session in Hartley, just outside of Southampton. Kerry, how's the turnout there this evening?
Amanda, to be honest, the turnout has been a little disappointing so far, but thankfully people are beginning to trickle in. So if you're anywhere near the New Hope Community Church in Hartley, get down here. 7,000 people are waiting for a bone marrow transplant and time is running out for them. You could be the only person in the world who could save one of those lives. Jamie here hopes he might be able to do that. Jamie, what brought you here this evening?
Well, I'm an extremely healthy person, and you hear the cases where people are not as healthy as they want to be, and just to come here to donate blood, knowing that I could help others, is just a great thing to know, so I'm so happy to give blood.
What would it mean to you if your bone marrow turned out to be a perfect match for somebody who was dying?
I think that would be absolutely amazing, because I think everybody would love to save someone's life, and knowing I've got the opportunity to do that, there's no words to describe to say that, really.
Does it hurt so far?
Not at all, no.
Jamie, thank you very much indeed. Well, from the Anthony Nolan Trust here, we have Debbie. Debbie, what sort of people can be donors?
We're looking for people who are aged 18 to 40 in good health, but we are particularly looking for young males and people from ethnic minority backgrounds to come forward.
Who actually needs bone marrow?
People who have bone marrow disorders like leukemia and myelodysplasia, often their best chance for a full cure is to have a bone marrow transplant.
Aren't you asking an awful lot of donors, though? Isn't it really a dreadful procedure to go through?
I wouldn't say dreadful. There's definitely a lot of myths surrounding the whole procedure, and that's why people should come along to these sessions so we can answer any questions they have. I have to say, everybody who I have met who's gone on to donate, yes, they say it is uncomfortable, but when they realise that they might have been the only person who could have helped save that person's life, then they would do it again if they were ever called upon.
Debbie, thank you. Well, this session to recruit people onto the Anthony Nolan Bone Marrow Register has been organised by a local mum here, Hazel. Hazel, you went to extraordinary lengths to get people here tonight. Tell me about that.
I did. I've advertised it in the local toddler group I run here. Myself and my husband produced a leaflet which we've delivered to 8,000 homes throughout the Waterside area in the last week, just to try and get people along to help.
Why have you got so involved?
Well, I was touched by the story of the Hartley boys 3 or so years ago, and I went along to the local school to actually go on the register. And when I realised there was something else I could do to actually, as a church, we looked to help the community. And I thought this is something we could do for the community. So I thought perhaps we could host a donor session here.
Let's hope, Hazel, that lots more people do come down here this evening. You've still got time, you know. They've promised to stay open a little late if you're on your way home from work. If you can't make it, there's a session in Portsmouth at the Tangier Baptist Church on October the 29th from 5 until 8 p.m. Go on, you might save a life.
Yes, indeed. Kerry, thanks very much indeed. And if you live in Hartley, still time to join Kerry. That session stops at 7 tonight. And if not, you can go to the second session she mentioned.
And do your very best. I know you will. But if you can't get to those and want to know more about how to join the Bone Marrow Donor Register, well, you can log on to the Anthony Nolan Bone Marrow Trust website. The address is anthonynolan.org.uk. I'll give it to you again, anthonynolan.org.uk.
Or if you don't have a computer, you can always call the Trust on this number, 0901 8822 234. I'll give you that number again, 0901 8822 234. Householders in Hampshire are wasting hundreds of pounds